Greetings, my people. Greetings, my people. Today is Saturday, February 24th, 2024, 7:14 p.m. And I titled this one, The Tavistock Institute, Chapter 1. And this is the book. Check it out. Okay. The Tavistock Institute of Human Relations, shaping the moral, spiritual, cultural, political, and economic. So you might want to take down these names because, okay, and especially to my people, we have this notion that in our hate or our disdain for our people, we act like they are the worst people ever. But we must understand the shifting of the consciousness, the shifting of the mentality, right? So we've never been these type of people that we are. We have been shaped and conditioned to be in this condition, right? Um, so I'm gonna get started. Okay. And we're starting with chapter 1. And you can look up and get this book, by the way. Um, okay. Chapter 1. Founding the world's premier brainwashing institute. All right. From its modest but vitally important beginning at Wellington House. Look up Wellington House, Wellington House, House. From its modest but vitally important beginning at Wellington House. The Tavistock Institute for Human Relations expanded rapidly to become the world's premier top secret brainwashing institute. How this rapid progression was accomplished needs to be explained. Okay, as we see Pappy, we got a visitor. Say hey, Pappy. But the modern science of mass manipulation. Listen, the modern science of mass manipulation of public opinion was born at Wellington House, London. The lusty infant began being midwifed by Lord Northcliffe, Lordnorthe, Northcliffe, and Lord Rothmere, Rothmere. It is very important. Like I said, in honor of Nana or the great Steve Coakley, he would always say, name the names. We say they. We say white folks. We say them. But we don't put a title on who's doing it. So it's always just like up in the air. Well, they've been doing this since the beginning of time. They. Okay. The British monarchy, Lord Rothschild, and the Rockefellers were responsible for the funding of the venture. The papers we were privileged to examine showed that the purpose of those at Wellington House was to effect a change in the opinion of the British people, who were adamantly opposed to war with Germany, a formidable task that was accomplished by opinion making through polling. Understand what I'm saying? The staff consisted of Arnold Toynbee, Arnold Toynbee, a future director of studies at the Royal Institute of International Affairs, or RIIA. Lord Northcliffe, and the Americans Walter Lippmann and Edward Bernays. Now we're gonna get to Edward Bernays. Bernays was born in Vienna on November 22nd, 1891, as the nephew of Sigmund Freud, the father of psychoanalysis. Regarded by as many as the father of public relations, although the title properly belongs to Willie Munzenberg, Will. Okay, so there's a discrepancy in the spellings. When I looked up Willy, how they have it spelled in the book, I kept seeing it come up as Willi, but you can try either way. Willie Munzenberg, Munzenberg. Bernays pioneered the use of psychology and other social sciences to shade informed public opinion, so that the public thought such manufactured opinions were their own. Mm. Now dig this. If we understand the mechanisms and motives of the group mind, it is now possible to control the regiments and the masses, control the regiment, the masses, according to our will without them knowing it. Let me read that again. It was a little choppy. If we understand the mechanisms and motives of the group mind, it is now possible to control and regiment the masses according to our will without them knowing. Bernays postulated. Now, this is Edward Bernays. He called this technique engineering consent. Now, dig this. One of his best known techniques of achieving this goal was the indirect use of what he called third party authorities to shape the desired opinions. Now, dig this. If you can influence the leaders, either with or without their conscious cooperation, you automatically influence the group which they sway. This technique he called opinion making. So when I'm saying your opinion is not your own, I'm not just jaw jacking. I'm not just talking. I'm not just trying to deflect. Deflection is one of the things that I feel like hurt us as a people. So when we're saying like engineering consent, and when he's saying he's using the leaders, now when I hear that, I think of people like Umar Johnson. I think of people like Louis Farrakhan. I think of people like anybody that has a heavy lead, Beyonce, that if you influence them, and what was his name? Not John B. Watson. John B. Watson is a name that you should look up too. Um, um, Albert Bandura. Albert Bandura, he called it why am I drawing a blank? The model. Bandura called it the model. He said you use the model, and what I got out of that was what? Role model. He said it all depended on what you needed this model to do. So when we think about like the mass following, right? How we follow everybody, how we follow, because and the thing that I also feel that plague us as black people, we're always looking for leaders. So and in this opinion making or in this engineering consent, see, we have a tendency to think because this book is old or these were things that was done years ago, decades ago, that they don't use these tools anymore. When I think of this opinion making, engineering consent, I think of COVID-19. I think of how they flooded your mind through like mass psychosis. They flooded your mind. They flooded your thoughts. They flooded the TV. First of all, panic, and you're not able to think when you panic. When fear and panic is induced, which is kind of like they run synonymous, you can't think clearly, right? You can't think clearly, and your thoughts are all over the place. So, in thinking about like opinion making, look at how they use those techniques to sway people just to get vaccinated without even reading into it. And the rationale that people were giving me when they was like, well, you don't know what's in Tylenol, but you take them. Well, you don't know what's in this, but you take that. But it wasn't forced upon you. Does that make sense what I'm saying? They weren't trying to come up with mandates. Kyrie Irving couldn't play basketball, not because he wouldn't take Tylenol, but because he refused and he stood up for himself. And in opinion making, they use people like Kendrick Perkins. They use people like Stephen A. Smith. Now, whose interpretation or whose opinion? My opinion. They use people like this to sway the crowds. So this is why, in my opinion, you had the antis versus the vaccinated. The Jabberwockies are upset at the nuns, and they're saying, "Well, it's y'all fault that it's still going on because y'all don't want to wear your mask and y'all don't want to take that." When in actuality, it was the vaccinated that was the danger. But that's a whole nother story and a whole nother topic. Back to this. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna go to another section. As previously stated, the British people did not want war and said so, but Toynbee, Lippmann, and Bernays expected to change that by applying techniques designed to manipulate a public opinion through the use of polling. Mm. Herein, we provide a review of the methods that we devised and executed to bring Great Britain and the United States into the First World War, plus techniques that were put into practice between the two world wars and beyond. As will be seen, will be seen, propaganda was to play a major role. One of the main objectives at Tavistock was to achieve the degradation of women. Now, dig this. One of the main objectives at Tavistock was to achieve the degradation of women. Tavistock recognized that Jesus Christ had brought a new place of respect in the order of civilization to womanhood, which prior to his coming had not been present. Okay. After Christ's ministry, womanhood gained a respect and a high place in society absent from pre-Christian civilization. And see, pause. When we know they're talking about that, we already know that they're not talking about us. Think about it. We already know when they're talking about this because if we look back in Kemetic civilization, there was already respect for the women. There was already respect for the collective. So when we know they're talking about this, we know that they are not talking about us. But we look at culture and we look at this as if we have a shared one culture. Okay. Tavistock sought to change that, and the process began immediately after World War One. The Eastern Orthodox Church, which the Rus Viking princes of Moscow brought back from Constantinople, revered and respected womanhood and their experience with the Khazarians, whom they subsequently defeated and drove out of Russia, left them determined to protect womanhood in Russia. The founder of the Romanov dynasty, Michael Romanov, was the scion of a noble family that had defended Russia on the basis of a Christian country. From 1613, The Romanovs sought to ennoble Russia and imbue it with a great spirit of Christianity, which meant also protection for and the honoring of Russian womanhood. The princes of Moscow under Prince Dmitry uh, Donskoy, I think that's how you pronounce it, earned the unremitting. Hang on 1 second, my cat. There you go, bud. Well, I guess he's not into that, and he's not into that right now. Okay, the princes of Moscow under Prince Dmitry Donskoy earned the unremitting hatred of the Rothschilds for Russia because of the Donskoy's defeat and expulsion of the Khazarian hordes that inhabited the lower regions of the Volga. This barbaric warrior nation of mysterious Indo-Turk origin had adopted the Judaic religion on passage of a decree by King Bulant, Bulant. After the religion was approved by the chief Khazarian soothsayers, magicians, and sorcerer David Elroy. Take this out. It was Elroy's personal flag, now called the Star of David, that became the official flag of the Khazarian nation when they settled in Poland, after being forced out of Russia. The flag was adopted by the Zionists as their standard and is still mistakenly called the Star of David. Christians make the error of confusion linking it with the Old Testament King David, when in fact there is no relation between the two. Okay, I dig that. In 1941, another Rockefeller Front organization, the Institute for Pacific Relations, also IPR, gave large sums to its Japanese counterpart in Tokyo. The money was then funneled to a member of the imperial family by Richard Sorge, a Russian master spy, for the purpose of inducing Japan to attack the United States at Pearl Harbor. Again, Tavistock was the originator of all of the IPR's publications. Although it was not evident, Spangler was mentioned in his monumental work. Published in 1936, it marked the beginning of the end of the old order. Contrary to most establishment accounts of history, the Russian Revolution was not a Russian revolution at all, but a foreign ideology backed by primarily the Committee of 300. That's another one that we have to look into. The Committee of 300. And its arm, the Tavistock Institute was violently forced upon a startled, unprepared, dismayed Romanov family. It was political warfare, low-grade warfare, and psychological warfare, in which Tavistock had become well-versed. As Winston Churchill once remarked, they transported linen in a sealed truck like a plague in bacillus from Switzerland into Russia, and then established Lenin and Trotsky seized Russia by the hairs of their head. Much has been written, but nearly always in passing, as if it is a mere postscript to history about the sealed truck, sealed car, sealed train that transported Lenin and his Bolshevik revolutionaries safely through the midst of a war torn Europe and deposited them in Russia, there to begin their imported Bolshevik revolution, so mistakenly termed for the Russian Revolution. And so, and I'm almost done, and I'm gonna give you a breakdown. Okay, but the main point. Okay, I'm just going over the last little bit of things. But the main point that I really wanted to make, yeah, that's about it. Um, okay, the main point, and remember, we're talking about the Tavistock Institute. I'll be back for chapter 2. But the main point I wanted to make was talking about the engineering consent. I want you to really think about that. Think about and research. The thing it is, I'm nobody's messenger, right? I'm nobody's leader. So if you found something or you heard something, I appreciate it. If you didn't, I appreciate that too. But what I want us to do is to not fall in love with personalities, right? Respect the personalities, especially if they honorable and they giving you what they don't have to give you, because nobody has to come share information. But I want you to respect ones like me and ones that's really trying, and we're not on a global stage. But I want us to really start thinking about engineering consent. I want us to think about people like John B. Watson, who said, if you were to give him a dozen infants, healthy infants, can't forget the word healthy, he could turn them to anything that he desired. So when we saying, what's wrong with black people in the worst shape, and the great Amos Wilson, whose birthday was yesterday, and he would always say, in order for them to be on top, it is imperative, it is so important, it is a must that we are out of our minds, right? So it's not just a necessary thing that we just de-evolutionize, because regardless to where you stand, right? Because this is what I don't do. I don't do, especially in my personal time, somebody coming in my comments talking about we've been here in America, and whatever you claim to be, that's your right to be it, right? If you want to be a flamingo, that's your right to be that, right? But what I am getting at, no matter what message you're trying to convey, whether you're right or wrong, you have an understanding of we were something greater before our enslavement, right? So if we understand that we was great kings, queens, gods, goddesses, however you want to see yourself, we do know that one while we was on top, right? Ain't y'all always saying we taught them how to bathe? We taught them how to bathe, which in my opinion is a form of integration. But y'all blame Dr. King for everything. But y'all taught them how to bathe. Who taught them latitude and longitude? Who shared secrets with them? Was that not integrated? So no matter how you look at history, you're trying to tap in and say we were something greater than what we are now, right? No matter what you think. So how did we go from this or from that to this? Just really think about that. Just really think about that. How did we get more degenerate than the degenerates themselves? See, at some point you got to put up your anger for the people and start to figure out why. Why when I was researching yesterday, I came across something. And I simply just put in uh teen collapses and dies in Google. And the amount of stories that I came across recently was freaking crazy. Now, what's the question that I said ask? Why? What is happening to our children? I'm not gonna say it's the Jabberwocky, and I'm not gonna not say it's the Jabberwocky. I only know where I stand on the scale. So we have to look at these things. We have to look at the adverse effects. We have to look at the myo, and we have to look at the pericarditis. No, I'm not a doctor, but I'm intelligent enough to read. So, and understanding engineering consent, how do you get a group of people to take something that we just can't walk up and get them to take? You induce fear in them. You induce panic. You induce that oh man, that's nothing. You induce fear. You induce panic. You induce um just those two. I don't have to keep elaborating. And they'll never question. And even for the ones that question, we'll call them crazy. We'll call them conspiracy theorists. Because I'm watching, and I'm about to close out, but I was watching the documentary on Jared Fogle, who was the Subway spokesman, the sick pedophile pervert Subway spokesman, right? And I'm watching him, and I'm watching him compared to R. Kelly. And I know that that's a trigger for our people, but I ain't gonna stop swinging on that. Because what I want us to understand is that's why I always say he is a staple in the black community and in black consciousness. Because though we know allegedly there are others, there's allegedly Chris Stokes, there's allegedly Marcus Houston, who runs together, allegedly. There's allegedly Quincy Jones. There's allegedly a ton of them, right? But answer this question honestly. Don't answer it with your emotions because we can't solve problems emotion. We can't solve problems with what we love. If you love Step in the Name of Love, that's your business. If you want to play Step in the Love at your party, it's your party and you do what you want. And my village, I don't want that played. My village. Because I understand the Pied Piper. You know what he called himself? But anyway, to close before I close out, looking at Jared Fogle was sick. And I'm only on the third episode now. And in this episode, and so far in the first two, he was being interviewed by this white chick, and he just suddenly blurted out that told her, confided in her, told her that he found middle school girls attractive or hot or however the hell he put it. And she instantly said she became sick. And what I want us to understand, much like Larry Nassar, the same nasty pervert who was arrested for molestation of all those gymnasts. This is what I want us to understand, why I keep talking about R. Kelly. That we don't look at it the same, right? Because if we were to see these people on TV, or if we see people saying, okay, if we see people saying, free Jared, I don't care what he done, free him, or where the parents was. Now, take away who we talking about. Let's say not even a celebrity, a family Just an every average day high school coach. And they standing out there saying, and he's convicted. They had audios of Jared. And he's convicted. And you see people standing out there saying, free this convicted pedophile. What would go through your mind? What would go through your mind? I want us to understand our thoughts. I'm not here to pick on nobody. This ain't about that. I want us to understand the psyche. I want us to understand the thought processes, not how we feel. You a nasty dog, no matter who you are. If you are Elvis Presley, allegedly, Jared Lee Lewis, allegedly, Woody Allen, allegedly. No matter what color or gender you want to be, it's still the same. The trauma that a child goes through because of that. We have to become back a child-centered people. No matter how these people have shaped our minds to hate Africa, to hate your neighbor. That's the technology, y'all. And if you don't like my video, that's you. But I got a job to do here. I got a job to do. And goddamn it, our job should be the protection of our children. If you ain't gonna at least protect the women, can you at least protect the children? I want us to really think about this stuff. What makes your psyche think of the way that it does? When they put up voting polls and that polling to sway your opinion, the Democrats versus the Republicans. All these years, black folks been what? You better vote Democrat. People would hate Republicans. Don't even know why. People would love Republicans. Don't even know why. Through the polling. To sway your mind that make you feel like you got a choice when the choice has already been made for you. Right? We do know everybody's waiting on this Epstein Island list to come out. And ain't no telling who on that. But then Cat Williams say Chris Tucker was allegedly on that island. I've heard all kind of people. And these are nobody's heroes. Once you start messing with a child, you lower than a goddamn. You low. And the fact that I was looking at something the other day on my Twitter, and it was some sick white person rationalizing for pedophiles, right? Saying that they can't help what they're attracted to. This is where we're going, y'all, which is why I keep talking about what I'm talking about. Because we're going to the normalization of, this is when you have stuff like NAMBLA, N-A-M-B-L-A, the North American, I think it's Man Boy Love Association. Matter of fact, let me fact check. Let me fact check myself. I want you to understand what I'm saying. Just give me 1 second. Yep, I was right. The North American Man Boy Love Association. I want you to understand how America thinks, not how R. Kelly thinks, not how Derek thinks. I want you. There was a documentary, and what was this dude's name? I think his name was Lawrence Larry King. Let me see before I get to speaking on this. And that's how y'all know. If I get it wrong and you catch it, correct me. See, that's the thing that we have to do. And I think we start to fall in love with these personalities because these personalities get on the internet and they become the end all be all. They know everything. I don't. I'm just got enough sense to pick up some books and read it. So if you understand, we got to get back to how we share information. Not me versus you. Not, oh, he got it wrong. So now if I just keep coming up here misreporting and misinforming y'all, then yeah, don't listen to me. But if I slip, say, hey, yo, man, you might have missed that. But my intention is to never ever, yeah. This ain't it. The Franklin Project. That's what the name of it was. Yeah, it was a child prostituting ring. And I know I shift gears, but what I'm talking about is the mind of America and people who have been indoctrinated and Americanized. In my opinion, whose opinion? My opinion. In my opinion, if you are American, it automatically makes you a hypocrite. Mm. Dig that, elbows, wobbles, FBAs. Because the foundation of America is founded on hypocrisy. Am I right or wrong? So what we got to understand, like naming ourselves, we must understand naming ceremonies, naming ourselves. So when you take on a name like Lil Murder, which is like, I'm gonna use them, Cameron and Mace, they two old guys still calling themselves Killer and Murder. You got to get out of that. That's a low-level child mentality because you always want to talk about who you was yesterday and what you capable of, and you'll go there and murder who? Your own? Killer? Murder? Murder was just a pastor. Then he gave old whack rebuttal to Shannon Sharp. But getting out of that, that's the contaminated mind of America. But y'all can be and attach yourselves to whoever you want to be. It's not up to me. But yeah, I just wanted to share that, and I will be back with chapter 2, and I'm gonna only talk about chapter 2, but I want us to think about that. Who's shaping your thoughts? When you do hear ba-da-da-da-da, what comes to mind? Hmm? When we shape children's song minds through what? This is why music is so important. Because what do we sing to our little babies? The wheels on the bus go round and round. We teach them through rhymes. We teach them through patterns. We teach them through music. Yeah, well, it's up to the parents It's the parents. The parents are brainwashed too. Hmm? Well, where the parents? It's the parents. It ain't Cardi B's job to raise your children. But what happens when she merges with something that deals with children and she's out there influencing your children? Don't allow them folks to wash their blood off their hands. This is why we don't have accountability. We talk ourselves in circles. And damn it, I'm tired of going in circles. You got me going in circles. I'm like, oh, that boy Obasi. But now, all seriousness, we go round and round and round because we don't have our own thoughts. And when we do come to our level of consciousness, you still are Americanized in here. That's why you hate men. That's why you're a feminist. That's why you say you don't need a man. You independent. I don't need him. Opinion making. They might not have used a poll, but they use ways to shape that opinion in you. That's why you are a misogynist. That's why you can't even have a decent conversation without calling a woman a hoe or some other derogatory name. It's in here, y'all. It's in here. It doesn't matter what's in here as much if all of it is messed up. That makes sense what I'm saying? I want us to understand. I want us to understand of how we teach our children, how we are being taught. You ever find yourself singing a song and you know you don't like that damn song? And you find yourself singing it because it's a catchy tune. Right? That's why we so caught up. So I want us to think about who? Edward Bernays with his old crooked self. Arnold Toynbee. Willie Munzenberg. We already know about Sigmund Freud. But it is the crooked white men of America. Not black men. We are victims too. It's not black women. They are victims too. And I don't want to hear none of you pious, self-righteous cats. I'm not a victim. Because you could be made a victim any moment at the red light. You could be made a victim any moment. A police get behind you with the wrong mentality. Now, that's not to say walk around and just feel like, but understand you're prey and they're predators. And I'm going to leave it at that.